I'm Kelsey Huff, and I am interested in conducting this interview with you today. I know I already asked you if you would be willing to sit down with me today. What was your name?
My name is Molly.
Molly? Okay, thank you. I do just want to go through a couple things with you before we do get started in the actual interview. The sole purpose of this interview is basically just for you to tell me a little bit about yourself, your situation, any challenges that you may be facing, whether that be school, work, home, whatever that may be. I would basically just like to understand your situation, hopefully gain some insight into your life, and maybe just set some basic goals with you to get you through whatever that challenge may be.
Okay.
As far as this interview goes, it is video recorded. This will be shared, with your permission, of course, with my instructor, as well as one other peer student.
Okay.
And also, at the end, you can review it as many times as you like as well, and make sure that it's all right to go ahead and let them see it as well.
Okay.
And the interview will last approximately 30 minutes, which at that time, if you would allow me to just ask you a few basic questions about how I did or how you thought that I did, and then I would also like you to fill out a form, basically saying the same things. If there is a question or something arises that you're not completely comfortable with answering, that's completely fine. Just let me know that you would rather not, and we can move on from that.
Okay.
Also, I'm only a student, so if something comes up that I don't feel like I'm competent enough to discuss with you, or I'm uncomfortable, then I'll just advise you at that time to seek other counseling.
Okay.
And I know I just went over a bit of information with you. This interview is 100% voluntary, so is there any problems that you're going to have or any questions before we get started?
Nope, I'm okay with everything.
All right, well then we'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Speaking with you briefly before the interview, I know you said that you may be having a little bit of problems in school. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
It has been a little while since I've been in school. I went for one semester back in 2009, and then I took a break because of family issues and things like that. So it has been a long time since I've been in school. I'm trying to get acclimated back into it and get used to just the process of being in school. And one of my major problems, I'd say, is time management, just getting my homework done and making sure I'm meeting all the deadlines and everything. That's something I'm trying to work on right now.
Right, and you said you haven't been since 2009?
Yeah, so it's been about 4 years. Going back was kind of a big decision for me, and I'm glad I did it, but it has been a struggle just making sure that I do meet all my deadlines and getting all my homework assignments done and everything. It's been a struggle.
Right. Well, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you for going back to school, because that is a really big decision. And obviously, I mean, school is stressful for people that have done it like since high school and like consecutively went. So for you to even come back, that's awesome. And obviously, it is difficult. You said you have problems with, let's see, time management, homework assignments.
Right.
Are you going to classes regularly?
I am. That was something that I struggled with when I went the first time. It's just so easy to wake up and not have the motivation to go, so I would skip a lot, but I've been trying to be better about it, and I have been going to classes and, being there when I need to be, so.
Well, I think definitely a strength would be now like this is definitely what you want to do versus then.
Right.
So you do have that motivation, and I think that's a good basis to start on.
Right.
So, I mean, as far as, like, homework assignments, now are you just, like, in the back of your head, you know that you have them, and you just kind of, like, I'll get to it later, and then just never?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a procrastinator. I know that's a pretty common problem with college students, but I've always had a problem with procrastination. It's so easy for me to just put it off, especially when I know I have an assignment I have 2 weeks or so to do it. I will always wait till the last minute to do it, which is something I need to work on, but I always put it off.
Right. Well, have you thought of maybe, like, allocating a certain amount of time, like, every night, like, maybe an hour, like, let me just do this, even though I know it's not due for 2 more weeks, let me just work on this little bit of portion of it, and then that way you kind of knock it out.
I mean, I've had a lot of people, like, professors and my advisor has told me, try to do that, try to set aside time to do that, and I've tried to work on it, but, procrastination is still a problem. It's always in the back of my head. I know when the due date is. I know when I need to get it done, but I usually just, when I know it's due the very next day, I think it kind of gives me more push to get it done, like, as quickly as I can. But that also may be a negative because if you don't spend as much time on it, it might not be as good as it could be. But
Right.
I've tried to set aside time, but like I said, the procrastination's always a problem.
Right. So, I mean, I know procrastination or doing your homework assignments late is an issue. Are you turning in all of the work at least?
Yeah,
or-
I haven't turned anything in like late thus far this semester, but obviously if you stay procrastinating, that can become a problem.
Right.
I don't want it to become too serious of a problem in the future. Just managing time and making sure I get it done, it's been a little bit of a problem.
Have you tried like doing like a day planner? Like
I
you can-
haven't. I need to. That would be a good idea, but I
Okay.
haven't. Right
Well,
now.
I mean, honestly, we can kind of set that as a goal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
basically, we can just do like your overall goal is to kind of try to cut back on procrastination,
Right.
get your homework in, and then I mean, one of the steps that we can take is get a day planner.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to pencil in like, okay, from 7 to 8 tonight, I'm just going to look at and see all my assignments or
Right.
something. Maybe not necessarily start them, but then the next day, then start them, even if
Yeah, just kind of put
they're
the idea
doing-
in your
yeah.
head. Mm-hmm.
that way you're looking at it every single day.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, maybe I should just go ahead and get it done. That way I don't have to worry
Right.
about it and it's not staring me in the face.
Right.
Now how are your grades doing? Like, are you
I'm actually on academic probation right now, and like we had a meeting at the beginning of the semester, like telling us, we need to make sure our grades are up and everything's okay. Because I didn't do so well the first time I went, obviously it's giving me more motivation to do better this semester. Right now I am an A, B, and C student. I would like to push those C's up and get them to B's, but I'm proud of myself. I think I've done better than I expected to do. I had a lot of things I was worried about just going into the semester because it has been so long, but I've been pushing myself and trying. Aside from, the procrastination and time management, I would say my grades are doing pretty well.
right? Well, I mean, they're also you can always speak with professors, like if they are slacking a little bit, which is understandable. It's been so long since you've been like in the routine of school and
Right.
actually having to do work and whatnot. Like extra credit assignments or like maybe like the tutoring area. I mean, really, there's so many options that could kind of help you boost you going forward. So that's definitely something to look at as well.
Yeah, I've wanted to explore those more. I've always been told about like the options of tutoring and things like that. I've taken advantage of some extra credit opportunities just so at the end of the semester, if my grades aren't what I want them to be, I don't, I'm not pressed for time on having to do those. I've been trying to kind of spread it out through the semester. As far as tutoring and things like that go, I haven't really taken advantage of those, but I think I probably should. I don't think there's any harm in it. I should probably look into it for sure.
Also, another, just because I know like certain things that I may have taken advantage of in the past or not, whatnot, is like get a buddy in class, and kind of just help. That it could also help with like the homework assignments, like remind each other constantly, or kind of work together, which would help because it's somebody you're comfortable with versus just going in and if like you're that type of person who has trouble talking to somebody.
I have always been that type of person. Like, it's better if I have someone motivating me because I know that I'm not the only one struggling. They're struggling too. They're seeking help with me, so it makes me feel better about the situation. I know a lot of times, I mean, I've struggled with this as well. People are kind of scared to go to a professor and ask for help just because they don't want to be embarrassed about it. I mean, I can admit I've kind of had that trouble too, especially when it's a larger class. Some of my classes I have, upwards of 150, 200 people in there. So it's, nobody wants to raise their hand in front of everybody and whatever. But, I have met a couple of people in class and I'll email them with questions, and that does help me a lot. Just having that, like you said, a buddy system, like someone to motivate me a little bit.
So yeah, do you say you're more comfortable now asking for help than maybe you would have been in the past?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still kind of struggle with it a little bit, but I don't have a problem so much maybe going up to the professor afterwards, or I'll email them, and all of my professors are super helpful. If I need to meet with them after class or on a specific day out of the week, I can always go to their office and they'll help me. And I've got a lot out of that. I think it helps a lot.
Right, good. Well, I think it's great that you're not like too proud or
Right.
or you're uncomfortable asking for help, because I mean they face this every single day in
Mm-hmm.
their classes and they have so many students. I think that they kind of expect for people to ask
Right.
for help, and it's great that you have the type of professors that are willing.
Yeah,
to help.
I love that. Like I said, even if it is a professor who has such a large class, that they're willing to set time out of their week to help me. Like, that means a lot to me. It makes me feel like they actually, care about my grade, and they want to make sure every individual student is where they need to be, and willing to give any help or support that they can. That helps me a lot.
Right, right. Well, I do think that's great. Now I do know that finals and stuff are coming up. How are you feeling about that?
Well, when midterms came, I was pretty nervous. Midterm week was a rough week for me, so I know finals are going to be just as difficult, if not more. I'm trying to go ahead and plan now, so when it does come to be those last couple weeks, I'm not so pressed for time. But it is something I'm a little concerned about, especially because I've been talking about my problems with time management. When finals week comes, you only have so much time to do these things. So
and it's all at once,
right,
too.
right. It's a lot on your plate. I mean, I know every student's going through it, but I probably will, take more advantage of tutoring or going to my professors during that time, just to make sure that I do end the semester on a strong note and I don't have to look back and regret anything.
Right. Well, I do think this is a prime time I know you said that you would be willing to, like, try the planner or whatnot, and then that way you can, it's not just homework assignments, but you can be like, let me study this chapter, or let me
Right.
go back and review this one.
Right.
And I think that, just going over it week by week until we get to that point, you'll be so much more comfortable going into it
Yeah.
versus, like, trying to cram it all.
Yeah.
Because I know that is a huge problem with
And
the students.
Getting out of the process of being in school, with that comes studying. It's hard finding a studying method that works for you specifically, and then doing that on a regular basis and making sure that you are prepared for your tests. I mean, I'm sure every student struggles with that, but me in particular, just my studying method, I find, just flashcards or even studying with somebody else helps me a lot. So I've got to get back on the track of doing that on a regular basis, because setting a certain amount of time for studying for a test is just as important as setting a time for homework assignments.
Right.
So I got to make sure that I'm doing that on a regular basis, because when finals come, it's kind of all or nothing with that. So
Yeah, definitely. And with different classes, the same study method may not work, but it's trial and error.
Right.
Like, you'll never know, because obviously with math, flashcards probably wouldn't
Right.
work, but with science, that's perfect.
Right.
But you can only find that out if you try them out,
Right.
and you only have a certain amount of time to kind of find your niche during the semester.
For
So,
sure.
Now, I know that you had or obviously there's a time management issue as far as school goes, but is all your time dedicated or free for school, or do you work, or what's going on outside of school?
Yeah, I was working before, and I found that, all of my focus and energy was more so going into work than it was school, and it definitely reflected my grades. I noticed that's one of the reasons I'm on academic probation, because, I wasn't putting all of my energy into school like I needed to. College is a big thing. It's a struggle for a lot of people, and I always found myself to be a pretty good student in high school, but college was a big transition, and I have noticed how much more difficult it is. So when I went back this semester, I chose to put all of my energy into school. I'm not working right now, so I can make sure that any free time or energy that I have is going straight towards school. And I have noticed a difference. I'm not as stressed as far as, making sure everything gets done. A lot of my classes have things outside of class that I have to work on, as far as like meeting with a group or anything like that. So I have a lot more time. I don't have to stress about that. But at the same time, I have all this free time, and I'm still having problems with time management. So it's just a matter of making sure that I'm focusing on the right things, and my mind is where it needs to be.
Right. Well, it sounds like you have the flexibility
Right.
to do it. It's just getting you
Making
there
sure I
and
do it.
doing it.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think that just like a few basic things will definitely like, kick you back into gear. Now, are you having trouble, or do you have early classes?
I do. Every single week I have a 9 o'clock class, so that is tough, but I kind of like being in the routine of waking up early because once I'm up, I'm up. I'm ready to, get the rest of the day going, get all the stuff I need to do. I've taken advantage, just because I do live close to campus, of, mass media and all those other places where I can go. I study a lot in the library. I think it's vital for any student to have that kind of environment where they feel comfortable enough to go there and get their work done and things like that. I have a couple of friends who have taken advantage of tutoring and going to the library and doing things like that. So that is something in the near future I feel like I should kind of work into my schedule, is working with a tutor or something, because that will also give me motivation.
Well, I mean, with the early classes, I know that just waking up is hard because I am not a morning person at all. Like, I will sleep until 2 o'clock.
No, for sure.
But when you go in the morning and you get it done and you do have all this time, so it's not like you're sleeping until 2 and then going to class and then next thing you know it's 7 o'clock.
Right.
And it lessens the motivation to do any work anyways.
That is one thing that I hate, is waking up super late, even on the weekends, and then I feel like my whole day is wasted. Like, it's rough having 9 o'clock classes, but I like actually getting up and getting my day started early so that...
And then when you're done, you're done.
Right. I don't have to anticipate going to a class or whatever. I do have one night class, but I actually really enjoy that class. Aside from that, all of the rest of them are super early, but I don't really have a problem with that. I kind of enjoy it, actually.
Good. Well, yeah, and you have all that time that you can play with and figure out what times are best for you to study or meet with other people or whatever it is that you may have to do. Was there anything else that you felt that you wanted to discuss today? Or
aside from time management and procrastination, like we were talking about, studying is kind of something that I've struggled with a little bit. It's vital that I make good grades this semester, with me being on probation and everything. Just for me to do better next semester, I need to do, really, really well this semester. My grades are something that's very important to me. So, I've had quite a few tests this semester. Some I've been proud of, some not so much. But just getting into the habit of having like a regular studying schedule and making sure that I'm sticking to it. It's tough, but, being around people who have been in school for a minute and they've been doing this, they've been working at it, I get some motivation from them. They give me tips and things, advice like that help me a lot. Just getting a studying routine is something that's important.
Right. Okay, well, then basically just kind of looking back at the conversation that we've had, obviously the issue, procrastination, time management, I think we decided on the goal being basically just trying to cut that in half at least, or something. Right. One step can be doing the planner. I do think it's a really good idea, and it seems like you're a little bit excited about at least trying it to see if it would work. And if it doesn't, obviously that's not the only option that you have. I mean, you can try other things. And then another step that we can take is, I know that you've been doing this anyways, but just asking for help, whether that be a student or a professor. Just be like, hey, would you make me study, or meet me here and kind of keep me on track?
That kind of motivation's important. I'm the type of person who I need kind of someone kicking me in the butt and like making me do it, so that will help a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I definitely see you kind of straightening that out going forward, because it seems like you really do want to. It's just making yourself do it, which is understandable considering it's been so long that you have been in school. Kind of getting into the gist of things could be kind of difficult. So I think that's kind of concluding the interview. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Are we good there? That's all right.
I mean, is it okay if I ask you some questions? Like, would that be all right if I asked? I mean, I always like hearing, advice from people who have been in school longer than I have, just because you're kind of more used to being in the routine of things. Like, I mean, does the tutoring programs or whatever, do you think that's something that's really effective? I've never been somebody to do tutoring, so I don't know, how effective that would be for me. I know it's different for everybody, but, I mean, with my issues, do you think that, having someone tutor me would really help? Do you think that would be something I'd benefit from?
I think anybody can benefit from tutoring, quite honestly. And most of the tutors that are on Western's campus, at least, They're like grad students or somebody that is passionate about that subject anyway.
Right.
It's not like it's just like some random person like, oh, I happen to know the information, so let me go over it. It's somebody who actually loves what they're doing.
Right.
So they're completely 100% willing to work with you. Definitely like the writing center too, because my biggest problem was always papers.
Right.
Like, not so much writing it, but doing it and then having time to review it.
Yeah.
I would wait until the day before and be like, oh, this is good enough.
Right.
But the writing center will review it for you
Yeah.
and help you make corrections and work with you over a period of time.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of my teachers have told me about. Even just like writing a rough draft of a paper and then sending it in and having them advise it before I turn in the final draft. I haven't really taken advantage of that, but I think
it's free.
Yeah, I think that that's something that I should definitely take advantage of because I mean, who doesn't want positive, feedback or critiques or anything that's going to help you better your grade? Like, it's just little things like that that I've never really considered before that I probably should take advantage of just because, I mean, it's right there on campus for me to use. Like, why not?
Yeah,
So.
and definitely using your resources that you have. I mean, this is kind of leading into that. It's knowing that the resources are there is a strength anyway.
Right.
So just taking that extra step and actually doing it, I think will be very, very beneficial.
For sure. There's so many resources at Western that I think not many people know about, and if they do know about, they don't really take advantage of it. And to be honest, there's no excuse not to. I mean, it's right there. It's there to help you do better in your classes. So I feel like if I am feeling weak in a certain subject or I feel like I do need extra help, that's something that I should definitely look into because a lot of people, they just don't use the resources, and I mean, it's there for us to help. So
yeah, and even mass media as a resource. I
Right.
mean, not everybody is going to have a computer or Wi-Fi or internet service or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have this big computer lab, and that's not the only computer
Right.
lab. There's a computer lab in just about every single building.
Right.
So, and you said you use the library a lot too. So I mean, you know that those are there, and I
Right.
think that's wonderful.
that is one thing that I do struggle with because I don't have a laptop. I don't have personal access to one. I don't have Wi-Fi at my house, so it's always great to be able to just a 5-minute walk down to Mass or Helms or wherever I need to go, and I can take advantage of their computer lab and those computers. That helps a lot, and I love that Western has that available to me.
Right, and even they also let you like rent equipment and stuff like that. I mean, like video recorders,
Right.
And whatnot. So it's just basically knowing what's
That it's
available to
there.
you and taking advantage. So
For sure, yeah.
it's definitely good. All right. Well, I did just have a few last minute questions.
Okay.
Not necessarily on this stuff, but kind of like for me.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm a student as well, so I kind of just want to make myself better.
Right.
To what degree did you feel comfortable and safe talking to me about all this information?
Oh, I was completely fine with it. You're very easy to talk to. I feel like you have your stuff together. You knew exactly what you needed to get out of this conversation going into it. I mean, I felt completely at ease and comfortable.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. To what degree did you feel that I was sincerely interested in you and what you had to say?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's hard talking to someone about things that you're struggling with, but I felt like I could relate to you kind of, you may not be going through the exact same problems as me, but we kind of relate with some of our struggles and everything. So, yeah, I felt 100% that it was sincere and that you did have an interest in it.
Were there any specific behaviors that kind of communicated that, like with maybe like body language?
Yeah,
or-
for sure, body language. I like that you keep eye contact with me. Sometimes it's hard for me to look someone in the eye when I'm speaking to them, but I always can tell that someone's being sincere when they're doing that. So you were keeping eye contact and things like that. I appreciated that.
Good. All right, and you kind of answered this one a little bit, but if you wanted to go into a little more detail, what degree did you feel that I understood what you were trying to communicate to me?
I mean, you had suggestions for every single problem that I presented to you. You know, it's hard for people to give, I guess, good advice whenever you don't really know what they're talking about or you don't have a similar struggle. But, you even gave me some things to think about that I had never even crossed my mind. So that's obviously going to help me talking about, the resources on campus and, using a planner and things like that. It's just things I didn't ever really think about. So, yeah, for sure.
All right. And overall, was this interview useful to you?
Oh, yes, for sure. it's given me a lot of things to think about. I think I can go forward, in a positive direction and work on some of the things that we've talked about, time management, what I need to do to kind of better myself in that area. And I do for sure think I want to take advantage of the resources you were talking about, tutoring, planner, things like that. I think it will help me a lot.
All right, wonderful. And very last question is, do you have any suggestions concerning the interview about how it could have been better, more productive, or what I could do possibly in the future to improve?
I mean, I think everything was, good, to be honest. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit more questions, just to kind of get more feedback from that person. I mean, besides that, I thought it was fine. Everything went really, really well.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for doing the interview for me.
No problem.
Yeah, well, good luck with finals and planning and all that. So, thank you
so much.